Don't worry for just a few minutes.
Pick that up by the chain.
You're now live.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of April the 4th Assessors on April the 28th, 2023. First order of business, approval of the previous meetings minutes.
I made a motion that way.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed. Next is the personal property tax.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies.
That's great. We're the nicest time.
If it's down with great, make flowers. All right, we're gonna start with property. I'm gonna start with different. I'm gonna start with the BOE changes. I guess it would. I guess you could say. We had two changes. We had two appeals to BOE. One was in Pescanova. They had no inventory in the time, however, they had misfiled the return at the time, so we had either return put the value in. They had no inventory. They gave for the industries, no change, however, that video, so get on that one. And then we'll go on to the changes that we had in the budget changes. So, page 3 of the movie. Northern Leasing and Atlantic Cape Fisheries. They both, Northern Leasing is out of business, have been out of business for a while. They were 21, 2022, 21, and 2020. And Atlantic Cape Fisheries did not file a return in 22 because they had no inventory, but they still told us that they did not. So they came back and filed a return as they reduced the value to $1,000. But it would be unpassable. But they want that account to stay open and not closed. So that way, when they do, that's like $1,000. So they're it's just back and forth. It's just back. Then we'll go on to page 6. Page 6 starts, and it's the appeal we have for our mobile homes. And mobile home appeal changes go from dates from all the way to page 16. And page 6 of changes. So we made a few changes to the values, and the changes were slight, not change. That's a $50. That's a $50 change. That we did on mobile homes as a whole. The majority, so that was 5 that changed, and 70 that were not changed. Percentage out was 5. They made changes. So these are not changed. And page 7 to 16 are all changed. These are actually no changes. So yeah, these are just stay rounded, so it's just the rounds.
Yeah. For this more than one. Park your home park.
No, this is actually one. Yeah. One unit that's a different part, but it's on the same project. Actually, I think that's all that's in. Yeah, that's all I had.
So ADP and white clouds, you think, so
Yes.
Because you change them, you all do always appear. I'm sure you know.
Make a note. Put it on
Property digest, including formal home. Yeah, that's good.
Another executive discussion. On page seven.
Thank you.
You.
Yeah. Yeah, that is me. Good morning.
Good morning.
The real property digest changes is a recommendation to approve the request for a non-disclosure status of a date trooper. And then yesterday with credentials, Austin verified his employment performance. I'm starting on page 17. This is going to be the homestead and admin changes. I'm going to start with the first one, which is parcel 831518. This was a deed correction where the prior year should have been on page 19. Angela Peters was formerly known as Angela Hart, so they did record affidavit on her name, with her name changed for 2021, and then opened doors for 2022. So we corrected for 21 and for 22. The next two parcels, 891573 and 891523, was which in the map number. And those particular numbers I just called. If you were to put that map number in before we make the change, it would light up with different parcels. And you needed to change a mapping number on that. So that was a mapping correction of those two. On the next parcel, 115354, it was a mixed deed for 21 and for 22, so on page 19. Then it's owners. On the next parcel, 121352, was a courtesy review. An appraiser went out and took a look at the home, realized that the pool was in disrepair. Even though he said remove the pool, reduced it to a nominal value, adjusted it for the condition, for the effective year down some, and he reduced the value 296,310 to 267,300. On parcel 8, 12525,339, the veteran under 62 documentation was approved for the tax year 2022, and the same for the next parcel 197,539, also 62 approved. On page 18, we have senior between 62 and 64. There was not a mailing error, but it was a deed correction on that one. It was two owners of the property, Raymond and Roger LeCant. And Raymond was removed, but it turns out that Roger actually was the one that filed the homestead on this particular property. So we reinstated the homestead of L7. Senior 62 to 64 on that one. On parcel 11, number 11, parcel 7371312, that was a sort of a mailing error. The owner changed his mailing address because he had issues with the mail, but he does still live in the property and is still a homeowner there. He was having issues. So when we changed the name, we moved him, but he came in to let us know that he does still live in the property. He just changed it because of mailing issues. Parcel number 12, parcel 983-1822 is a vet under 62 approved for documentation. Page 19 we went over. On page 20, this is a veteran under 62. where he was approved going back some years for his disability. And I know we spoke to you about it, Maryland, but we also went to a class a couple of weeks ago and spoke with the Department of Revenue and the Department of Revenue that we could go back years on the particular properties. He did apply in 2021. We already approved him for 21 and 22, but applying in 21, he gets 21 plus 2 years, so we needed to go back to 20 and to 19. So he was approved on page 20 and on page 21 here. And that is all I have for homestead and ownership corrections.
Motion to approve the homestead and ownership corrections and the.
Make a motion that we approve the homestead, the residential property classifications, as well as the non-disclosure. Second.
Motion carried. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Number 22, you do it.
We're gonna do, I'm doing that separate. We had an owner come in, of course, their mortgage changed their, the escrow changed their payment, and she said she never received her notice. So we looked on all the notice return list, you know, that we posted all at courthouse step, and she was on that list where it was returned to us. So by law, we have to give them an opportunity to file an appeal. So Renee Chrissy did file an appeal. We no changed it because it was less than what she paid for it, and just wanted to get that heads up, so it's gonna go straight to DOE. Okay. Okay, I don't know if we need to do that separately from the result. Or not.
Do we have more information on where it is going to be going?
Yeah, this is going to be, so we need to approve it and walk it over.
What are we approving your action?
Yes, whatever, no change.
I would entertain a motion to approve this no change action in this case.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the no change action on the case noted that will be going to the DOE. Yeah, second.
Motion is second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Pages 23 through 24. Wow, we had two pages. These are the DOE results for the past 2 weeks. We're gonna start with the 12th. We were doing good there. We had a whole lot of no changes up at the top. We had one, actually, we had all no changes except for the one that was a house on, off of Lee Road. And they reduced it based on the condition, more on the condition, and it stood up as a functionality. I believe that was 1 bedroom property. So we don't recommend going any further on that one. On the 13th, we had one property that had a value. They didn't show, but it was a no change in the value, and it was also an appeal for their homestead, which we denied because it was wrong. Can't do anything about that. And the second one here, parcel 100-25175, the same thing. She did not apply for that. I believe she applied for 2023. And I think we were approved for 23, but for 2023, she can't get it. It doesn't matter. On April the 20th, we have about 6 townhomes, 5 or 6 townhomes there where they reduced it from 169.9 to 140,000, and they did it based on some market and some sales. And the prior year value, I wanted to note in there that the prior year value was 105, so we're still getting an increase in value from on that one. And there were no changes in the next 2 on that particular date. The last one on this page, on April the 25th, we did get a change in the value, right around 10%, and that was based on the market and the sales. I want to go back up to April the 12th real quick. On those vacant lots where we received no change, that owner has already come in and filed a superior court on those 6 properties. So. The next page on April the 26th, We had all no changes again, except for the one at the bottom, and that was, a storage building, it's more like a trailer storage facility. I reasoned it out, saw the condition of it, and actually recommended the lowering of the value from 40,600 to 36,700. And on April 27th, we had a few changes, and those were on the vacant land. They reduced it trying to be in uniform with some of the surrounding land values. And then we had 147, 1595, a home based on the conditions of it. They reduced it 13%. Everything else was a no change on that day. We don't recommend going any further on any of those. And then the settlement conference agreements below. The first one was the house where we pretty much scored just for settlement purposes, came down to 130. Looked at the market surrounding it, and it was just a small change, less than 3% on that one. The other three were the three that we took to court, and I want to commend Lynn on a great job on getting the increases on all three of these properties. One in particular, and I want to look at you, but I said it was really hard. Yeah. He called back. They were at an impasse on the negotiations on that. He called back, apologized for his actions. He really kind of laid into Lynn on this one and the county and everything, and he apologized on that one and came up to $10,000 on this particular property. So I wanted to commend her on a great job on handling the situation on all three. I think all three of them were kind of difficult. It's hard to get people to come up from a value where the board gave them something lower. But Lynn was able to handle it and explain it to them, and they were able to get the values up on those. So I really want to say if I have not said that already.
Dedication.
Yes. I don't know if we need to approve those or not, or just.
Can just make the motion to approve these BOE decisions as well as the settlement conference agreement.
The motion that we approve the DOE decision as well as the settlement conference agreements, listed above. Second.
Have a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
All right, you should see an attachment A, the probate list.
Yes.
Talk about the probate list for a minute here. The probate court sends over people who have passed. We get a list monthly, and Lauren goes over that list to see. Lauren, often I'm not sure, but Lauren goes over to see if anyone has homestead on the parcel, or if you need to do a name change depending on the type of ownership. If you can see on the very first one that the name was removed for the purpose of joint tenancy with the right of survivorship. So what we did was remove the deceased name, just put it in the survivor's name. They kept the homestead for that year of 2022, see it passed on January 2nd. They kept the homestead for that particular year. And even the survivor has the homestead. The survivor had actually was the one that applied for the homestead. But we do send a letter out anyway to let them know what we're doing, like removing the name, putting in that particular person's name, and if they need to change the homestead situation, we have a certain time to do it. If you look at the second one, you see that that person passed the day after Christmas on the year before. And we did the same thing. We removed the name of Sandra Anderson. It's still in the surviving person's name. And actually the homestead is still on this property because it was in the surviving person's name. On the third one here, this one's a little bit different because it was not a joint tenancy on that one with the right of survivorship. We were recommending removing the homestead for 2023, actually. And having passed late that year, they did receive homestead for 2022. Because there's not enough time between the 29th and the first of the year to get, any documents probate, and we spoke to Meredith about that for the last 2 months of the year, that we were not gonna be sending letters. We do have to be sensitive that someone has passed, so we don't send letters out right away, because we're still going through the grieving period, and we try to give them time, but we still know that time is of the essence, so we do send letters out. Usually if they get the homestead for the year in which they pass, but the last 2 months of the year, they're getting the following year because of the time issue of trying to, I don't know if you've been through that, but it takes time to get through probate on some issues, especially if there's a family issue going on. On parcel 6, I'm just trying to point out some different types of changes that we made. Like on number 6, we added a statement for the passing of Mary Ann Bradley. And John actually, I know the name is not on here, but John actually had a homestead on this particular property, but we were going to wait for him to actually change it just to his name, but we did add a state on it. And he had a homestead on that for the 23 going forward. I'm not going to go through every one. I just kind of wanted to point out certain ones. If you look at number 17 in February, on this one, we did remove the homestead for 2023 for the passing of James Kirk. But as you can see there, he passed actually in November of 21. So he gave it to him for 22. So we did remove it for 23. He never responded to it. Everyone on this list may have already filed their paperwork for 23. We are currently going through all of the applications they have until April 1st of this year to turn it in. But some of them will have homestead for 23 once that paperwork is processed. But wanted to get this on the record that we approved the change name for 2022 and for 2020. Also want to note on the last page 5, number 8 in October, that they actually passed in July of 21. They did have homestead for 22. They would have had it, but it turns out that they actually sold it in December of 21. So the homestead actually was removed now that I think about it. And that the new owners have not applied for one yesterday when I double checked on that particular one.
So y'all have research stuff like that on a case by case basis?
Yes. It takes time.
Yeah,
It does, it takes time. As you can see, this goes back to January of last year, all the way through October. It is on hold right now because Lauren and Megan, who are right now working on the approvals for homestead for 2023. Once that's approved and notices go out, you'll have another list for the approvals for 2023 and enough else. So then she'll start back on the list and say that it's a timing issue, manpower, and things like that. I wanted to bring this to your attention, want to get this approved, and then when the other changes bring that.
If you know, you get this list, you get it
Monthly.
Entertaining motion to approve the action on this list.
Let's make a motion to approve the probate list as presented by staff.
I second.
Motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Hi, Rita.
Hello. Good morning.
It seems to me, I a little longer there. Oh.
Now, Mr. Joey's up in the commercial property.
We got the commercial BOE results on April 20th and 25th. You can see the first two, the vacant lot over Cross 92 going toward Dallas. Right across near Stewart, behind Stewart Middle School, or in front of them. This was a vacant lot that was adjacent to a commercial lot that this property owner already owns, with an improvement on it. And it was cut to 14, we had about 30,000, the BOE put it at 14.7, and resulted in a 51% decrease. And he was saying that he had power lines crossing the lot, and that city's only restricted him of what he could do, and that he tried to get it rezoned into commercial, but either they denied it or something. It never showed whether it was approved or not. So we were thinking to go ahead and appeal that one further based on the fact that we don't have any information from the city. Until we can get that, I think we have to, deem it as a, buildable lot or usable lot, whatever, because he could use it for parking or something like that, even if they couldn't build a structure on it. That's what we're gonna do with that one, if we wanna do that.
Quick question on the one.
Sure.
That BOA value, is that based on the purchase price?
No, it's not. That was just the value that was on it that we had.
Per year now.
Prior, 14 stuff.
Yes.
Right.
No, I'm talking about the BOA value. 30,000.
Yeah, that's that was our original value. I mean, that was the notice value.
Okay, but that was not the purchase price.
No, they've had it for quite a while, and they actually bought it with the piece next door, so it came along with it. He was saying it was kind of like a tag along parcel, but he had to get it with the property, but still has value, so.
Okay.
Right, and the second one is a building on US 78 Smith Road. The BOE value of 655.6. The BOE counted to 375, something at a 43% decrease. We're gonna recommend taking that one to the next level too. This was already adjusted from the original notice value, which was like 9 something. So 655.6 was adjusted 30-day value. And so we already took into consideration the issue from the appeal, and they were still not happy with that, so they appealed the burden to BOE, and you see the result there. So take that one, recommended on for them. The next four pretty decent, nothing with that much, no changes, on the 10% to repair those. And April 20th, everything looks pretty, we're okay with all of them except for the land fade golf. You can see starting with clubhouse and Shed Fairway, and then the next 6 parcels after that. They purchased these in 2019, I believe. So the 450,000,
Which was a five.
425. Sorry, they purchased it for 425. They got their purchase price for 20. We had already discussed it earlier. They had troubles with the legals and stuff. So they got it approved for 2020. The purchase price. Then after that, they appealed it again, and you can see the results that the BOE put on based on that purchase price. So they cut it back. So I recommend taking those forward as well. See. April 25th, you can see the results of all of those. We're okay with all of those to label where they are.
In the last 3 years on 20, so based on the appraisal submitted, like,
Yeah, he submitted it at the BOE. He just brought it up that he had an appraisal. Because he just, even though I didn't have a chance to look at it, and I mean,
you with it, and it's not you. I mean, you would have time to review it.
right,
And that's
so,
hard.
well, they went with the one sale, which was actually a sale in there that's, the one that they built. But the first one was a sale, but it said it sold for, with personal property involved. So they made an adjustment to that, to the 775, and that's how they came up with that number for both of those two, the first two improvements, or 2 parcels.
What the prior year values of them? Each 3.
1,168,800 was the previous value.
No, not,
I'm sorry.
the prior year value. think it was $600 the first two being around 25.
I think they were under a previous appeal, but I'm not sure about that. They were under a previous lock-in value.
That's cool.
We're
We're still higher than the prior year value.
Pretty significant.
Yes. Want to put that out. We're okay with that.
But I would entertain a motion to approve the bill, as noted, with the exception that we're gonna bring further recommendation of the properties that have been recommended to bring to the next couple of years.
And to make a motion that we accept the DOG recommendations in order to sections of the two on 20th and the 7 on April 20th. Oh, April 19th, the 2 on April 19th, and the 7 on April 20th, that we order the 2 people. Second.
Give a motion to say, any further discussion? Motion passed. Thanks, Joanne. Thank you. Thanks.
It's morning again to everybody.
Amen.
Gonna hand out my long list of food.
That's it. You.
Yeah, there was a lot of copies of the food, taking a lot of people.
Yeah. You get to keep all of them.
Okay. Our first parcel is 4113 Trip Brown family. They applied for a renewal wildlife cabin in 40 acres on West Chapel Hill Road. I recommend approval for that for the second term. Parcel 152-510, Jack Suddick, a renewal as well for wildlife, a house of 15.86 acres on LaPorte Road. I recommend approval for a second that one. And 224-1822, David Parker, a renewal on him as well with wildlife. They get 15.16 acres on Old Burton Road. I recommend approval for second term for him. And our last one today is Joshua and Susan Nichols for renewal wildlife. It's about 39 acres on about Still Road. And I recommend approval for second term. That's all I have.
Approve these items.
Make a motion that we approve the license and the.
Motion second, close the session. All those say aye.
Alright.
Motion passed.
There is more to come. We have, matter of fact, the meeting after the meeting with, Meredith today, we have certain fines, situations that, we're not ready to present to the board, and we have clarity on that. So just FYI.
We have unfinished business. And the deputy chief treasurer for me.
Leanne started back with us on Monday. Still having some technical issues with her working from home. Leanne said, she already comes with all the years of experience already doing. So she's gonna be now trying to get it figured out. But Steve, speak to you about another contract with Tom. We have a few issues with the contract, but we're moving right along. We're gonna be bombarding you with a lot of stuff coming in the next week. You think there?
No, next day.
Well, the next one, business will be to check the date of next week. But it needs to be between May the 15th and 19th for a captain issue.
You're not going to a conference, and we're both for the meeting, so you all are requesting to do next meeting between the 15th and the 19th. So the week after that, you all, Gary and I, Paul, they all need to be a caveat.
Right.
Well, the 17th is please, there's a just, go to day. May 17th.
Make a face.
Yeah.
The golf room. It's the 16th. I'm good.
I'm good for the 16th.
Well, it's a bad day for me. So, how about the 18th?
18th is good.
Outstanding. Then it'll be the 18th unless the budget increase. Okay. Well, last anything else I would, and what can you do, John?
Make a motion, we adjourn today's meeting.
I second.
Motion and second, any discussion? So say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. You can take us off the screen.